Here we are again, characters exactly as described in the books, which the last time we did this, we stuck to a theme. It was Brandon Sanderson's books. So in this video, we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna stick to one author and one series specifically. Game of Thrones, George R.R. Martin, you saw the thumbnail and the title. Let's get stuck into it. Our first character is a young woman in her early teens. She has violet eyes, pale skin, and hair so blonde it was silver. She is described as having a slender frame with small breasts. She is uncommonly beautiful, strong, persistent, and inquisitive. Now these are interesting personality traits, and I want to find ways that this might incorporate into her physical appearance. But otherwise, she's described as dressing in primitive garb, a painted vest and riding leathers, and barefoot. She also wears silk or horsehair pants and woven grass sandals. She wears a medallion belt and has silver bells in her braided hair. Now this is going to be obvious to everyone watching this who's seen or read Game of Thrones as to who this is, but as always with this series, I am going to be attempting to do this purely based on these descriptions and really try not to be influenced by the portrayals in the TV show. Now as always in the comments, prep your guesses, and before the reveals let me know who you think they are and let me know how many out of 5 you get right. But also let me know if you think I'm doing justice with my illustration of character number 1. For the primitive garb, I just went with fairly simplistic outfits, you know, more bands and tattered clothing. I added some necklaces with some, you know, teeth on it and stuff. But when it describes riding leathers, she's also barefoot. So I interpreted that as she's got gloves for riding and like those chaps thing, I don't know what they're called. Chaps? They make your legs comfy when you ride, I think. Anyways, it's all in place. It's just time to add some color and bring it alive. Starting off with that foundation of a pale skin tone, of course her hair being extremely blonde to the point of it almost being silver, and then moving on to color in the outfit in primitive and earthy colors. And of course, character 1 is Daenerys Targaryen, who in the TV show is, I mean, it's a pretty apt depiction. What's interesting is a lot of the art that I've found, it looks much more regal. I guess they're depicting her later, but even in her appearance, like with her hair and face, everything seems really subtle and noble, whereas I guess I've gone a little bit more wild because of the description of her outfit. So, I don't know, let me know what vibe you think works best. Now let's move on to character 2. And character 2 is immediately very different to our first character. Extremely tall, close to 8 feet. Massive shoulders and arms thick as tree trunks. It says gray eyes and brown eyes. I'm assuming that's gonna be like a mix, I guess. Sort of like, I don't know, like a hazily desaturated brown. And he weighs over 30 stone, nearly all of it muscle. Google, what is 30 stone in kilograms?
190.5.
Oh my God, almost 200 kilograms. This is a big boy. He wears the heaviest, thickest steel plate armor. So all of that muscle is covered up, dull gray in color and battle scarred. So this is someone who's been through the trenches. Below the plate, he wears chainmail and boiled leather. These are thick garbs, covering a thick body covered in steel plate. So as you can see in my sketch, everything is very, very thick. Thickened out with every layer on top of the last. He carries a massive oaken shield rimmed with black iron. Rimmed gives me the impression that it's a rounded shield. And he rides a huge stallion that's as ill-tempered as him. This man is a violent, sadistic murderer. We haven't been given much to describe his face or expression, but his personality description gives me a lot of room to play to make him look as imposing as he's seemingly intended to be. This boy is big. He's like, it's a bit of a caricature. It's like, I don't know how he like fits through doorways, but sticking to the prompts, and we'll stick to the prompts when we put some color on it. And in this case, everything is much darker. Heavy, thick steel, dull gray armor, which is battle scarred. Chain-mailed and boiled leather, both of which we're gonna end up doing a bit of a darker color. An oaken shield is also gonna be dark with black iron. So really the only place for there to be a little bit more highlight is in his head, which is poking up out of his armor and mostly covered by his armor, especially because we're looking up at him towering above us at 8 feet tall. Oh my god. Now on to moving around the piece and adding those awesome highlights to make it pop. Now here's a bit of a flex for you. Check out my chainmail painting method. This is the best. For those of you who don't know, my ultimate digital brush set comes with a chainmail brush. You literally just paint the rows of the chainmail, and all of that tedious, horrific detail of chainmail is, well, as you can see, it's done, and it looks really good. If you haven't yet, do yourself a favor and go to the JAZZA'Studios.com shop, where I sell these amazing ultimate digital brushes. They're bundled with a how to paint digital course that I made with Alicia. And if you like the character design approach, I also recently released my character design video masterclass. There's heaps over there you would love, so go check it out. And any support is a direct support to the channel, so thank you. Character 2 is the Mountain, Gregor Clegane. His portrayal in the show was absolutely perfect. I have to hand it to the people who put together the Game of Thrones. The casting was pretty phenomenal. We're up to character 3 out of 5. Mind you, I'm really happy with how this is all progressing. I want to point out, I'm able to do more much faster and at a better quality because of the video I did a few weeks ago where Alicia sort of like showed me the ropes of her painting method. Let me know if you agree, but I feel like this is making a wild difference to how I can get art done of a high quality and pretty fast. I'm wrapped. All right, character 3 has strong features, a lean build, he's 5'8", so fairly average. He has a long face, whatever that means. He has dark brown hair, dark gray eyes, and he's clean shaven early on but bearded later. He looks solemn and guarded, and he dresses in official black garb. I want to try and depict this character somewhere in the middle of this transformational period where they're somewhere between scruffy and official looking. Now honestly, just with the sketch, I actually don't know who this is from the show. It really doesn't give itself away. There's not a lot of clear facial details or even like outfit details. So let's see if the guess becomes any clearer once we add color. Again, let me know in the comments if your guesses are correct. In terms of color, we've got dark brown hair, dark gray eyes, and aside from the black garb, that's really all we get in terms of guidance. The prompts are simple, so I'm gonna keep the colors simple and focus mainly on getting a really nice rendered feeling on the shape of this character's face. Guessing who it is aside, I'm really happy with how this portrait's coming together. Character 3 is Jon Snow. My character illustration actually to me looks more like the guy who serves Daenerys. What's his name? Jorah? Fucking not a true fan, I guess. Jorah Mormont. Mine looks more like brown-haired Jorah. Character 4. There are a lot of descriptors for this one, so I guess we're amping up in intensity. One side of this character's face is gaunt with sharp cheekbones and a heavy brow. The other side of his face is a burned ruin of scars. Oh my god. Obviously we know who this one is, but let's keep going. Slick black flesh is pocked with craters and deep cracks that ooze red and wet. Oh boy. His ear is only a hole with a stump. A hint of jawbone shows on his jaw. Oh my god, this is not what I pictured. No lip on the burnt half of his face. Holy crap. He's like Two-Face. Scars extend down his throat. His nose is large and unhooked. That's an interesting description. His long, thick, dark hair that he brushes in an attempt to cover his burns as no hair grows there. He's a huge, heavily muscled man. He wears an olive green cloak over plain, soot-dark armor. with a distinctive helm sculpted into the shape of a snarling dog's head. He wields a longsword, a warhammer, and a dagger. There's a lot here to work with that I love. A lot of facial descriptions, a lot of body and clothing description. There's so much here to work with, and I really feel like I can totally capture the picture of who this character was depicted as in the book. But anyone who's watched the show and knows who this is can already see that the descriptors are far more intense than was actually portrayed in the show. Now again, anyone who watches the show, this one's pretty apparent. However, it's so much gnarlier as it's described in the original text. So I really want to take it as far as I can, or at least in the boundaries of the prompt. See how gnarly he looks once we've painted him up. Coloring for this process is following the same steps, but I kind of have to get rid of a lot of my sketch to even see the face underneath that I'm trying to scar and burn and show all this horrific detail on. We're going to be covering it up all in the end later anyway, but I do want to make sure that I have all of those boxes ticked in terms of the details of his face and exposed burns that he's described to have. Again, a lot of the work on this one is in the face and those details. I can work through a little bit more detail once I get to that lighting phase, but everything else about the character is actually pretty subtle. But when I start adding those little pops of highlight, the deep cracks that ooze red and wet, the slick black flesh that's burned, and then cover it with the thin dark hair that he combs over the side, it really all comes together quite nicely. When I say nicely, you know, sort of horrifically, but it's damn cool. And character 4 is the Hound, Sandor Clegane, brother to the Mountain, or what's his name? Gregor. I'm not a true fan, I guess. What's interesting to me is how similar my depiction looks like the actor in the show, just taken a little bit further. And a lot of the art that I'm seeing of the Hound is more extreme, because in the books it is more extreme. So it's sort of cool to try and bring that to life and see what that looks and feels like. But let me know what you think, and if you think I did the Hound justice. Lucky last, character number 5. I can't believe we're getting through 5 today. I'm so excited. This is really fun because it all really brings it to life for me. I hope you feel the same. Character 5 is mentally challenged. At 7 feet tall. He has brown eyes, shaggy hair, a brown beard, and thick brown hair all over him, as thick as a pelt. He's a hairy boy. I'm getting Hagrid vibes.
You're a wizard, Harry.
He has a huge smile and is strong enough to carry an anvil easily. Now, he's not described as heavily muscled, but at 7 feet tall and strong enough to carry an anvil, I'm gonna make him bigger. Just sort of in a naturally broad sense. A little stockier. But otherwise, there's not a lot of grim things described about this person. You know, they have a huge smile, otherwise they're just sort of hairy and big and beardy. And as someone who's mentally challenged in what is a very punishing and severe universe, I think this is someone who traverses the world in sort of their own way, in their own manner, and maybe is off on their own planet a little bit to escape all the grim that's going around. I love my base illustration. Since it's described as being strong enough to easily carry an anvil, I thought I'd just have him carrying an anvil. He's doing it quite easily. He's very cheerful about it. I'm helping. There's really not much in the way of color descriptions aside from brown beard, brown eyes. Everything else is up to my imagination. So let's see where that takes us. I'm gonna keep things fairly earthy. He seems like a peasanty sort of chill folk. So mainly working with fairly natural colors, some tans and green, cream and browns. As I move on through the highlights and shading, it's time to add in that thick carpet of hair alluded to. And this is really only mainly shown around his arms and his neck and upper chest. I definitely wanna make sure I do that justice, as it's described as thick as a pelt. And of course, the final reveal is this last character is Hodor, which in his depiction in the show, I think in the show he has more like grayish hair, he seems a bit older. Fits well with the book, but I don't know how old he's described as in the book. But I mean, honestly, I think mine looks kind of like Peter Jackson. It works for me. You let me know. Your opinion matters most here. And let me know overall, Did you have as much fun in this video as I did? Because I had an absolute blast, and I'm super proud of how far we've been able to take these 5 characters in this video. If you had as much fun as me, make sure to hit like to let the old gods of YouTube know so that they may bring my content to more people like yourself to enjoy. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe to enjoy future videos with art and creativity. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.